Good morning, everybody, and good morning to those who are joining us online as well. My name's John. For those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the members of the team here. And every Sunday morning, when we gather together, we remind ourselves that alongsiders are a people practicing the way of love. I'm going to remind myself. Alongsiders are people practicing the way of love through the art of living alongside for the sake of neighbor, creation, and self. For those newer to us, it's great to host you, and thank you for trusting us with your Sunday morning. The rhythm of our gathering goes like this. You'll see it up on the slide here together. We have a time of singing to center our affection on God and connect us with our bodies and each other. We practice the sacrament of the Eucharist to remind us how deeply loved we are and to hold space for others. We have a time of reflection from the story of God to encourage and form our lives in faith, hope, and love, and a time of engagement to process what God may be stirring in our hearts and our lives as we prepare for a new week. So, as we enter into song, feel free to do so however is comfortable for you. So if that means sitting and just letting the lyrics wash over you, or if that means standing and holding your hands and bellowing at the top of your lungs, do that. Thank you, Dennis, Joey, and Megan, for guiding us this morning.
Thank you, John. As we enter into this time of song, let's take a moment to read this prayer together. We've been reading this prayer for a couple weeks now. Let's read it together. Oh, come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us make a joyful noise. Let us come into God's presence with thanksgiving. Let us make a joyful noise. Amen. Let's do that this morning. just that good. God's just that good. God's just that good. God's just that good. Oh yes, He is. God's just that good. Oh, you are good, Lord. All I want is to live within your love, be undone by who you are. My desire is to know you deeper. Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch, and all I want is to live within your love, be undone by who you are. My desire is to know you deeper. Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven. How I live for the moments where I'm still in your presence. All the noise dies down. Lord, speak to me now. You have all my attention. I will linger and listen. I can't miss a thing. Lord, I know my heart wants more of you. My heart wants something new, so I surrender all. And all I want is to live within your love, be undone by who you are. My desire is to know you deeper. Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven. You're the fire in the morning, you're the cool in the evening, the breath in my soul, oh, the life in my bones. There is no hesitation in your love and affection. It's the sweetest of all. I know my heart wants more of you. My heart wants something new, so I surrender all. And all I want is to live within your love, be undone by who you are. My desire is to know you deeper. Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven. My heart to you, I open up my heart to you now. So do what only you can. open up my heart to you. Oh, we open our hearts to you, Lord. I open up my heart to you now. So do what only you can. Jesus, have your way in me now. Oh, have your way in us, oh Lord. And all I want is to live within your love, be undone by who you are. My desire is to know you deeper. Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven. Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven. Oh, we are desperate for you, Lord. And Lord, I give you my heart, I give you my soul. I live for you alone. Every breath that I take, every moment I'm awake. Lord, have your way in me. Lord, I give you my heart, I give you my soul. I live for you alone. Every breath that I take, every moment I'm awake. Lord, have your way in me. Have your way in us, oh Lord. Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven.
So now we're going to enter into our time of Eucharist, or communion, and this is just one of the rhythms that we have here at Alongsiders, and a chance to just enter into a time of remembrance and prayer and reflection. And so, and also just something to know is at Alongsiders, this is something that is available for everyone, anyone that wants to participate. So to help lead us in, we have our Eucharist confession, and so we'll just read this out together. So, through this sacrament of bread and cup, we remember Jesus. Through this bread and cup, we confidently confess we are the beloved of God. Without shame or fear, we acknowledge and confess our shortcoming and sin. Forgive us, God, and help us to forgive one another. In the light of your mercy, we say thank you. And as one diversified body in Christ, we receive. Amen. So you should have elements on the table around you, little mini bread and cup. And then for those of you at home watching online, hopefully you have something there for you as well. And we have our as we enter into this time of prayer, something that is going to be a little bit different. We'll do our candle of solidarity and just have some different prayer points up there for you. The earthquake in Morocco, the floods in Libya, this month being Suicide Prevention Month and also National Recovery Month. And so just encourage you to be praying and praying over all those things, and also whatever is resonating in and around your own life as well. But something that's a little bit different today is that as we have that time of prayer, we also are going to have a song happening. And so having the opportunity for you to enter in or just have the words that are being sung wash over you. So I'm going to light our candle of solidarity. And then, again, just invite you into the prayer, reflection, and Eucharist moment.
Be still and know that stillness and quiet, that I am the Lord. And let go of your worries. Only one thing is needed. Just be still and know. Be still and know that I am the Lord. Be still and be still and know that stillness and quiet, that I am the Lord. And let go of your worries. Only one thing is needed. Just be still and know. Be still and know that I am the Lord. And be still and know that I am the Lord. Be still and know that stillness and quiet, that I am the Lord. And let go of your worries. Only one thing is needed. Just be still and know. Be still and know that I am the Lord. am the Lord.
Just this week, just this week, that song, I saw a different version of the Psalm 46:10, and it said, "Be still and know that I am God." But it said, instead of that, it said, "Be silent, stop striving, and you will see that I am God." And I just love God's heart that He's not looking for performance, and we don't have to strive, but He's just looking for our heart, and that we can trust in that, and that we don't have to strive. So I love that song.
Yes. For those of you that don't know, my name is Brandon. This is my wife, Katie. It's kind of an interesting morning for us. As some of you know, we made an announcement a while back that we were going to be heading out with our 3 boys on this grand adventure at the end of the summer, traveling through the country. And although it is technically still the summer, we, and I think many of you here, thought we'd already be gone by now. But we're still here, we're hanging on. The weather's just been so nice. We're just gonna stick around. One day we'll just vanish, and we'll be gone. But we're just here. Both Greg asked us to share a little bit, and then kind of as a semi reflection of our time that we've spent here, part of this community, as sort of a farewell, but we're still going to be here. So we're just milking it as the end of the story. When it was the last Sunday for Gabby and Janae, Greg talked about a trapeze swinger and letting go of the bar as they leapt to the next. And I love that image. We can certainly relate to the fear of letting go of something known. But when I imagine a trapeze artist, there's a gracefulness and a skill in the letting go. Our letting go transition has looked different. It actually reminded me of a story from when I was a young boy, probably 6 or 7, growing up in northern Wisconsin. We were going on a downhill skiing trip as a family. And this is early 90s, so I was decked out in my awesome ski suit. It was a one-piece snowsuit, so like overalls, you put your legs in, arms in, and zip it up. And it had an awesome belt that was, I think, part fashion, part function, with these little metal hooks that were super cool. So I was looking fly. I had practiced the bunny hill all morning, pizza pies and French fries. I'd gotten good enough that morning that in the afternoon I got to go up to the top hill, but that required going on a chairlift. So for anybody that's been skiing or snowboarding, there's this moment of getting on and off the chairlifts that can be intimidating. It's this huge metal frame chair that's swinging around and is coming for you. There's no slowing it down. Anyways, my first time to get on the chairlift, I'm anxiously waiting in line, scooting up. Then it's my turn. You kind of have to hustle, shuffle over to the spot where it's going to scoop you up. So I hopped up with help from my dad, made it on fine. Phew. We're up, we're going, I'm excited. And watching the other skiers come down the hills. Again, this is northern Wisconsin, so there's no mountains, it's just bigger hills. And sure enough, we're approaching the top. I'm getting a little pep talk, keep your skis pointed straight. You're gonna push off the chair, go straight, and then we'll turn left and head back down the hill. I'm checking, I've got my gloves, my skis pointed in the right direction. We're getting closer and closer. I'm scooching up to the edge of the chair, ready to launch. And my dad says, "Go." and I push, and something snags and pulls me right back toward the chair, and it won't let me go. And I'm dangling from the chairlift. My dad is down the ramp, and thankfully the lift operator sees what's going on, stops the whole chairlift. I was that guy that made the whole chairlift stop. And that's when I realized my fashionable little belt had come undone, and the metal hook snagged on the chair and caused me to just not let go. So there I was, dangling in midair, completely helpless. And that's more what our departure has looked like for us. We were just kind of dangling. We thought we'd be in Montana or Wyoming by now, but we've been snagged. We're hung up. And to be honest, it has been difficult. We've had a lot of hopeful moments and excitement as we attempt to pursue this dream of just traveling the country. We've hit a lot of snags. We've had multiple renters pull out as we try to rent out our house. And as Katie and I have been processing this, what's going on, questioning and trying to figure it out, we've just felt like God has asked us this question: do you trust me? Do you trust me? So when Greg asked us to share, he posed it as a question: a people practicing what? I had to think about it for a second, and then I knew: a people practicing trust, because that's what we are going through and wrestling with. And I think that is both for us personally and for this community, with all the changes and shifts and unknowns. Do we still trust him? Trust is a common enough idea and sentiment. The ideal to trust the Lord your God with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Many of us know that and get the concept, but to put it into practice, to be a people practicing trust, that's when the rubber meets the road or the foot meets the path, to actually live it, to engage in something outside of our ability to control, to be dependent, to not have the power to do it yourself or make it happen. That's what we have been experiencing in this question that keeps continually coming to us, that we feel like God is asking: do you trust me? Do I trust that this kind of wild idea of traveling around the country was something that was placed in my heart by God? Or am I going to choose to doubt and try to wrestle control away, leaning on mine or choosing my own limited understanding? We continually have to choose to trust that God loves us and wants what's best for us, even if it doesn't make sense or isn't comfortable. Do we trust him with just our words or in our heads, or do we trust his goodness and love for us in our everyday lives? The other thing Greg did for me when I told him we were going to speak on trust is he had a couple books for me, as he tends to have laying around. And these two quotes from a book by Dr. Henry Cloud entitled Trust just jumped out at me. Trust is the fuel for all life. And second, we still have to choose to take the step to trust, and it always entails risk. It is a choice and it is a risk. To trust equals to take a risk. If you are not willing to risk, there's no chance to trust. When we are not at risk or risking anything, it's much easier to say we trust God. And when we aren't depending on somebody, it's easy to say you trust other people. But it's when you actually step out and take that risk, that's when you find out how much you actually trust God. When you're vulnerable and rely on somebody else is when you find out if you trust them. That's not always comfortable.
No, it's uncomfortable to take a risk. It's uncomfortable to step out. We're living uncomfortable right now. These last couple months, I feel like I've been on a learning curve of even in my uncomfortability, just stepping out and trusting that nudge from the Lord to go out, and trusting that tug not to sit, but to take that first step. And just the other day, I went through my Lectio Divina journal. I don't know if you got, some of you might not know what it is, but it's a journal we do that has daily scripture. And On my entries, I title each entry, and so I can look back and reflect and kind of see maybe what God's saying. And I looked back through my entries from May, and some of the titles were Stepping Out, Trust, Faith, Go, Ready, Set, Trust Wholeheartedly, and then Faith isn't faith without the first step forward. So I was seeing a theme here, what God was working in our heart. And it's adventurous to go out and what we're hoping to do as a family. But more importantly, we felt the pull to get out of our comfort and take a step of faith and trusting Him with the details. It's been a picture for our kids to see the process of the ups and downs. But thankfully, we have God that He's in our life, and we can stand on Him, and His foundation is firm, and that we can ride those waves, but He's still the same. I know we've had these thoughts like, what if it fails? But I wouldn't call it failing. I would say that God's really shaping us in our journey, however it looks, even if it doesn't look how we thought, or it looks crazy or irresponsible or weird that you're living in an RV in your driveway right now. We just can trust that we serve an unwavering God. And we've had these feel it in our body, highs and lows. And some of those is just our renters. We've had 3 renters pull out right before the lease signing. The first set was, several hours. We went to bed knowing we were handing our keys over the next day, and we were both kind of feeling a little pit in our stomach after we were getting to know our potential renters, and we're like, maybe this isn't the best fit for us. And so we just started praying, God, just shut the door, or if it's good, let it happen. And even that night, I could not sleep, and I'm walking around, just praying over our house and just desperate for God to really show up. And went to bed, and we hurried and emptied our house, the rest. And I got a text and said, well, we got in a fight, and I don't think we're even going to live together, so we can't sign your lease. Okay, well, that was clear, door closed. We were really actually excited, thank you for making it clear, God. But just in that process, I was so grateful that he was there. But that happened 2 more times, maybe not as dramatic, but we're still in that kind of wave. But when we are stepping out, there's this dependence that needs to happen over and over. It's caused us not to stay comfortable and keep clinging on to Him and not cling on to the things that we maybe thought were safe, or even put it in our own control and rely just on my efforts and our efforts. But I'm grateful that I know God just wants a relationship in this, that He wants our heart, and that He wants us to fully trust in Him. And when we step out, we have to trust Him, because sometimes it looks foolish, and sometimes fear can come in, and that can really cause us to recluse. So, and sometimes when God asks us to do something, it doesn't make sense to the world, and that's that narrow path that we're not meant to go on, that wide path, but it's the narrow path living.
It's kind of funny. Is this on? Unmuted? There you go. It's kind of funny because I honestly don't remember how I got off of that chairlift. I think part of me is maybe still stuck there. I think my dad kind of climbed back up and helped lift and unhook me, but I know I was very afraid. But I didn't scream or yell or try to do anything really. I just kind of clung to that chair and waited. For me, fear often leads to inaction. usually too afraid to try or do anything. Some people will scream or yell. Some will try to take complete control. Others would never, ever find themselves in that situation of being up on a snowy hill with skis. But what we have found is that fear, being afraid, limits our willingness to risk. It restricts our level of trust. Fear of failure prevents us from wanting to even try. So for the last year and a half or so, I have been coaching and being coached. Shout out to my guy Will in Austin. For real, we have a standing meeting every week, and we've been talking through and processing this dream of traveling. One of the biggest hurdles in pursuing this dream was that I had to work through my fear of failure before even being able to say it out loud. I don't like to fail. I especially don't like when others see me fail, or if there's even a perception of failure. It was so hard for me to verbalize and commit to saying that I wanted to try to pursue this idea of traveling around the country with my family. I've been afraid to try because the possibility of it not working out was too scary. I didn't want to face it or deal with it. I didn't want to extend myself because I was afraid of what others might think about me. Through coaching, Will introduced me to this fear-setting exercise. I don't know if any of you heard of that or tried it, but the point of the exercise is basically to identify and name in detail your fears and then right-size them. It helps put them in the proper perspective, and it was an amazingly freeing and helpful exercise for me. And as Will reminded me at the end of the exercise, fear is not from God. He does not give us a spirit of fear. It says it over and over in the Bible, do not fear. This is literally the only piece of art that has made it into our trailer. That's the one that made the cut. We don't have a lot of space. And so this is a constant reminder for us and an encouragement for this community. Fear will limit. It will limit your generosity. It'll limit your kindness. It will limit your willingness to trust. And it will ultimately limit your life and who God has created you to be. Do not be afraid.
That fear-setting practice that Brandon talked about, I had a completely different experience. He was so excited about, I just finished this fear-setting exercise, and so I want to find a time to do this. So a couple days later, we sat down and did it. Well, attempted, because I wrote down my fears and then just tears. I was like, this is torture. Why would I want to just list all my fears and have them right here? I was like, what? This is just, I was mad. I was mad at him because it was just felt very overwhelming. And it was just easier to be mad at him than to face those things. So it took me probably a month to really face it and to look over those again. And over time, I kind of saw those fears as what they were, and they were no longer crippling. I'd really recommend it. I mean, it's hard, and you might be like me and be like, this is ridiculous, but then give it time to kind of ruminate. And some of those fears that I was believing were just lies, or the fears that I was feeling were just lies I was believing. And it could have been just so subtle, but through my fears, it showed that what I was actually believing, that God wasn't good enough, that God wouldn't provide, that, yeah, he's faithful, but maybe to the ones that really hold up their end of the bargain. But that's not really true. One of my favorite verses is, but even if we are faithless, he will still be full of faith, for he never wavers in his faithfulness to us. We go into this self-reliance because we can forge our way, or like us, even inaction because we're paralyzed by our own fears, and don't truly live into the freedom we're supposed to live out. And live out these truths of God's character, like he is faithful. We are loved. We're the beloved. He'll never leave us. He even cares to feed the birds of the air. How much more will he care for us? And as those fears kept trying to creep in, I just keep surrendering those. And it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to just say it out loud and surrender those. But that's what God continually wants, is that surrender of our heart. And so that we can wholeheartedly, fully trust him.
So, as John let you know, this is an engagement moment. This is just a time, to reflect on things that we've shared. Hopefully these questions are helpful prompts that you can process either on your own or with others around you. So just encourage you to take some time. And, we hope that this is a safe space to create some room to be vulnerable. It's not always easy to talk about those things that are fearful and things that you're not able to trust right now. But I just encourage you to give it a go, or at least be a good listener to those around you. And then we'll give you some time, and we'll come back up and just share a little more. So take this time. Sorry to break up the conversation. Hopefully that was a good time to process and connect. Part of the other part of this morning, Greg just kind of asked us to share a few things over our time that we've been here and been a part of this community, just stories and formation of our lives here. But Katie's going to get us started here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's impossible to really, I'm getting emotional about it, to really talk about being formed in this community over, 20 years. When I had just started walking with the Lord, and I was desperate first, just a church or something. I didn't know anyone in this town. I just moved from Montana. And I had a roommate that had a car, and she's like, I saw some marquee of a church somewhere, in this. And so she drove me to the old building that this community used to be at. And I am just so grateful to stumble upon this place and be a part of this. And that was probably something, it was just so it has been so formational in the seasons of it looking different and the ups and downs of a community. And there's just people along the way, many of you here, that have really shaped us. So I'm so grateful. And one of those aspects, I thought of so many stories, and just the intergenerational aspect of this community is such a gift. And when I first came, I sat in a sea of women who were probably 80 and up. And part of it was I wanted to just hide, but I didn't really hide. And just the warmth of them welcoming me. And it was all so new and intimidating. And I was just over and over blessed by their warmth and them praying over me. And I even later was in a Bible study for about 6 months, and I think the next woman up was maybe my grandma's age or maybe a little younger, but just how that intergenerational, how important it is. And so if you're in your wise years right now, we need you. The young, even I consider myself young, even though I'm not that young, but I just know how important that intergenerational aspect is of this community. And there's just so many other things we've learned. I think this is being a good neighbor. That's something that Greg has, and just this community really does well, being a good neighbor, and something I've learned and have been grown to be a good neighbor in my neighborhood, and how our neighborhood has been our ministry and our friendships and and sometimes being a good neighbor is being okay being interrupted. And I feel like I've learned that of listening even to Greg and just hearing stories how other people neighbor well. It's okay to be interrupted. And that was another thing that Greg has always said, that a life, I might be saying this backwards, but a life interrupted is a life inspired. Is that right? Yeah. But just being okay to be interrupted. And I think that's something in these moments I've been asking God, how can I be a mom just in the ordinary moments of life? How can you show up and just be strong in my life? I don't know. I was just desperate one day, and I was on a run. And I felt the Lord whisper, be okay to be interrupted and not being rigid in what we're doing, but just be okay, because that's when we're open to what God has for us. And I'm grateful for that little subtle reminder of what Greg has taught and what this community is like. Another one is Laundry Love. Laundry Love has shaped us and our family. We've served about 15 years together with a group of people doing Laundry Love. We haven't really much since COVID, but just serving with people, that's where relationship happens. Serving, I know 3 years in to Laundry Love, we had a Christmas party, and we were giving away a Christmas tree and decorations as a whole thing. And we were there, and I cried because we were at this moment in our life that we couldn't even barely get gas to go to work. And it was just like a really desperate time for us. And the next day, these people we served with at Laundry Love showed up on our door with a tree and decorations and decked out our apartment but that was serving together. They would have never known, but we were in relationship together, serving at Laundry Love. And there's so many stories, even just in that, people showing up in the hard moments, in the celebrations, and just so grateful.
Yeah, yep. Just to second and echo all of that. This has been a place that we have been formed and been becoming. Truly formed by practicing. Like, this isn't just a nice, catchy phrase and something to help remember. It is to be lived out by showing up, by participating in things that go on here, and being in Laundry Love and Food Pantry, going to the events. This is not just an announcement, but this is like the Dignity Conference is where we would love to be if we're still here. But we were for sure showing up to that. That's part of what this community offers and gifts us to join in with. Being mentors. We were mentors for many years here. And that's how we grow and stay connected to families and other kids. Like, that's the way that this community functions and works and is good. So there you go. Look at that. This is one thing I was processing and journaling back in July, and just dug this out because this is just where my heart was at in thinking about the next chapter. And I've been thinking about leaving this community a lot, reflecting on what I've learned and what I'll take with me, how much I've grown and changed over my time here. As I was driving by myself, I realized I had this overwhelming feeling of confidence in what I've grown into, how I relate to God with his love for me, knowing I will carry his goodness with me wherever we go, and sharing it with others. Knowing the ways I've been shaped and formed slowly over time have built up to a solid foundation and confidence in not just myself, but in Jesus and who he calls me to be. My time learning and growing here has made me into the man that I am today. And I can't imagine where or what I would be without having been part of this community. There's not an adequate way to say thank you, but the greatest praise I can think to offer is that you helped to shape me. You aided in my becoming, and now I get to be that and take that with me wherever I go. And we're seeking to be a light wherever we travel, wherever we end up. And we know that we will carry the light of alongside-ers wherever we go. Wherever our feet or our wheels take us, we know that we will be carrying that light with us. Truly thank you. Thank you all. And one other thing Greg has taught us is just how to celebrate well. So that's why there's an ice cream truck here today, is because he wants to celebrate. He wants people to enjoy and love being around. So I just ask you to linger, stay, enjoy, and celebrate just time together. It's a short life that we get to live. We get one shot here, so just enjoy. Pray that you would just, continue to stay connected and just continue to trust that this is a good place. There's great people here, and just continue to pour into it, and you will grow. You will. It's not really an option if you give yourself to it. So that's it from us. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you.